members of the Pacific Islands Pageant Board, judges, my lovely pageant sisters. Mālō, and warm Pacific greetings. My name is Josiana Patricia Damoy-Bear, Miss Tonga, and it is my privilege to share on the topic of environment and climate change in the Pacific. When I look at my crown, I see more than artistry. I see a story about who we are as islanders. Its black coral base twists like ocean vines and ancient tree roots, reminding us that our strength comes from the deep places, our land, our sea, and the heritage that binds us. The atrocious shellflowers speak of our grace and resilience, but it's also how fragile our natural beauty truly is. I hope to inspire, educate, and equip our youth to be good stewards of our Pacific home, which reflects so much of our culture, therefore reminding them of their identity. Today, the very elements that inspired this crown are under threat. Rising seas swallow coastlines that hold our memories. Stronger cyclones tear at the roots of our villages. Warming oceans bleach the corals that once protected and fed our families. When our environment suffers, our culture and quality of life suffer with it. This crown tells our people's story, but climate change is rewriting the story faster than we can adapt. As Pacific women, we stand not only to wear the symbols of heritage, but to protect the places from where they were created. Our environment is our home, our history, and hope for generations to come. First, the biggest environmental challenge facing our Pacific is the rising sea levels, a prodding from MWO threatening our coastlines faster than expected. Some parts of the Pacific face sea level rise higher than even the global average, and for Tonga, this means coastal erosion and land loss. I've seen this in my beloved island, Motu. In just my mother's lifetime, these beaches where we once played have disappeared, and the land that held my family memories have now been claimed by the sea. Second, we face stronger cyclones and extreme weather. Since 2000, Tonga has been struck by a Category 4 or higher cyclone every 3 to 4 years. Cyclone Kita alone has caused over $100 million in damage and affected 80% of our population. These storms are becoming our reality. Third, states, ocean warming and coral stress weaken the reefs that protect our shores and feed our families to USNOAA. Warmer waters increase coral bleaching, threatening fisheries and biodiversity. And at times we face historic events like the 2022 Hunga Tonga eruption, the largest of the 21st century. These challenges are real, but with the spirit of our people and the God by our side, we can overcome. One powerful way to respond is by returning to the foundation that's guided our nations for generations, our faith in God. All 7 national anthems represented here call on his name, instilling hope, purpose, and calling. As Tonga continues initiatives like water security, reliable energy, stronger infrastructure, local agriculture, and better food systems, my encouragement is that we anchor these efforts in biblical stewardship. Human solutions matter, but perseverance begins when we depend on God first. We can also restore natural systems that protect us. Across the Pacific, we see reef regrowth in Fiji, mangrove regeneration in Solomon Islands and Samoa, and community-led conservation that show us it is possible. When we regrow our reefs and replant our mangroves, we rebuild God's natural defenses. And we must empower the next generation of eco-entrepreneurs, young innovators turning environmental care into opportunity. People like Tautusi Trada of Trada Eco Tours of Fiji. His creativity has shown us that protecting our environment can strengthen our economies and inspire our youth. Our land and ocean are sacred gifts, an ancestral inheritance entrusted to us. Let us not be ruled by fear, but guided by the same wisdom and courage that defined our ancestors, navigators, caretakers, and stewards of our natural world. The flower on my crown mirrored the national flower of Tonga, the helala, a symbol that I'm honored to represent when home. It teaches us something profound, that it must be nurtured with care, protected with intention, and valued for its purpose. When tended, its fragrance fills the room. When honored, it leaves a lasting impression. In the same way, our environment is not only a resource, but a vessel of our culture, an ambassador of who we are to the world, and the preserver of our Pacific identity for generations yet to come. May we steward it faithfully so that its beauty, its story, and its life may endure. Mālō pito tua o whātu.
Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Tonga, thank you so much for the presentation. I now like the judges, if they have any questions, they can ask them now.
Vinaka, contestants, and our invited guests, members of the public. Ms. Tonga, Luciana, thank you for your lovely presentation. Climate change is inevitable. We are all affected by it as Pacific Islanders, one way or another. As a contestant, what would be one event or activity that you would, if you were going to be crowned as Miss Pacific Island, would you actively take to mitigate climate change?
Vinaka for the question. Mālō pito. If I was gifted the opportunity to serve as Miss Pacific Island, I would love to start an initiative for our youth in encouraging entrepreneurship. I have a background in business marketing and management, and I've loved seeing the creativity of our youth and the aspirations that they have. And I think this generation, specifically Generation Z, is very passionate about justice and the social issues that we face as Pacific, but then also in the online space around the world. And I would love to help encourage our youth in what it looks like to take ownership in being a part of our communities and leading Dalamoa. It's been great. I had the opportunity to attend the Pacific Tourism Conference in my country, and we got to meet youth from all over the Pacific who are starting businesses that they're passionate about, preserving their culture in a way that is passed from family to family. And in this, they are so inspired by these issues, but sometimes lack the resources and what it looks like to protect our environment. And what I'd love to do is partner with our entrepreneurs and build a system where we can educate them on climate change and the reality that we're facing. And it's beautiful, the example I used here in Fiji, he has very much taken ownership and led community initiatives in talking to village chiefs from his island. And I think it was a very heavy burden from the stories he was sharing, and to bring about a young perspective of what it looks like to preserve our culture, and then bring tourists and revenue in building economic development. It rallied his whole community. So I think in not only Tonga, but the rest of the Pacific, there is room to grow in creating educational programs for our youth, in being entrepreneurs, whether it's through school, or even through our government sector and NGOs, and then therefore educating them on climate change and the ways that they can preserve our culture, which therefore preserves our environment. Thank you.
Thank you for your answer to the first question. I have one question for you. Now, how can we inspire the youth? How can we inspire the youth of Tonga to use Indigenous knowledge or Indigenous knowledge practices in an effort to towards sustainability, looking at the effect climate change is having on your country, on the Pacific as a whole?
I'm going to cover the question. I think our theme is very timely. One Pacific, one voice, and building safe online communities. I think in Tonga and the rest of the Pacific, they're craving to find their place, not only in the villages, but in the rest of the world. And I think they're looking for that in the online spaces and affirmation and connection. And I think it would be a great way to create sustainable methods is bridging maybe some of those gaps in what it looks like to create sustainable opportunities in preserving our Pacific. And I've loved some of the programs I've seen online in sharing about the climate initiatives. I mean, in Kiribati, I've read beautiful examples of storytelling, and I think that's where our elders love to come into play in passing down their knowledge, is telling the stories of our people and what that looks like through our arts. For example, the gentleman who made my crown is from Hapai, which is one of the outer island groups. And he so loved the artistry that his family practiced, therefore creating a business, and then inviting youth from around our main island, therefore not only learn the practices, but partner with them in sharing the stories of the meaning behind our resources. And here before us is Black Coral. We have one of the deepest trenches in the Pacific called the Tonga Trench. And in that, we're able to see our unique factors and some of the stories that reflect even our natural resources. So our elders pass those down through storytelling in person, but then our youth, and specifically this artist, has grown his business and sharing it even globally, and bringing to light the love and the value between our culture. And it's actually inspired a lot of families who've come through to visit Tonga, and therefore they've taken it back home, not only their arts, but as well as the stories which inspire them to lead lives in sustainable tourism and climate change initiatives. And I think what we really need in the Pacific is to bring to life these issues. And what's the best way as a vessel is not only our land, but our people, and the next generation being our youth. So I look forward to the online initiatives and hopefully being a part of that moving forward. Mālō.